B'Shem Hashem na'aseh v'natzliach, Shiur Torah, Bruchim Habayim. We're back to our Sunday night shiur, new location. From now on, all of the shiurim will be in this location. Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday here in Aventura, Ner Avraham. B'ezrat Hashem until further notice, but for now, B'ezrat Hashem, they'll be here, so easy for everyone to remember. Every Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, B'ezrat Hashem, at 9 o'clock. Next Sunday, there's not going to be a shiur, but aside from that, everything else is on schedule. Tonight, we're going to continue with our series on the Jewish HaShkafa, based on the Chazon Ish. Thank you. Tonight's shiur will be for a refuah shlema for Rabbanit Levana Bat Sarah, David ben Esriya, Doris bat Jora, Aliza bat Rivka, Orit bat Ilana, Yitro ben Avraham, Talia bat Sarah, Dvora bat Mercedes, Esther bat Tzipora, Batya bat Sarah, Serach bat Batya, and all of Am Yisrael B'ezrat Hashem will have refuah shlema, refuat nefesh, refuat haguf. Also Michal bat Yael, and again all of Am Yisrael will have refuah shlema, refuat nefesh, refuat haguf. And hatzlacha rabba to Shaul ben Farzane, Yitro ben Avraham, Elad ben Doris, Oshri ben Doris, Gabi ben Doris, David ben Esriya, and all of the donors and supporters of Irgun B'ezrat Hashem, whether it be with money or with time, skill, all of the wonderful people that help us share Torah around the world. Baruch Hashem, we're continuing to grow, continuing to share Torah to more and more people every day. The amount of views go up, the amount of videos go up, the amount of projects go up, but most importantly, the amount of Baalei Tshuva go up. Every single day, Shtabach Shemolad, there's new Baalei Tshuva, new people taking on more mitzvot, new people taking on more things to get closer to Hashem. Some people that were completely disconnected are keeping Shabbat after watching one or two shiurim. Other people that were relatively connected, but not as religious as they realized they need to be. So Baruch Hashem, there's a lot of good things that are happening. But one of the main things is also that's happening, especially with the video that was released earlier today about these 14 Erev Rav that were highlighted on the list by myself and Rav Mizrahi, is that although there are many, unfortunately, many other Erev Rav in the world, we only highlighted those 14 as they are the most dangerous because of their popularity. There are many others. And unfortunately, at the end of times, as we've learned from Rav Wasserman and from the Gemara and many other places, the Zohar Kadosh even says that the vast majority of rabbis and leaders at the time of Mashiach are going to be Erev Rav. Erev Rav meaning no good. Not good for you, not good for Klal Yisrael. And the important thing for a person to know is that although none of these videos or lectures that discuss bad people and the bad things that they do, none of them are fun, none of them are pleasurable. Quite frankly, I hate them. They're very much necessary. As the Zohar Kadosh says in Parashat Kedoshim, page 86, a person that makes separation for people, for the sake of himself, for others, between good and evil, brings peace to the world. So a lot of times people watch these videos, where we're highlighting one of these Reshaim, whether it be Manis Friedman, Shem Reshaim Merkav, or Goldberg, or any of these other people, and they say, how many times can you go against a person? We got the point. Or perhaps, why do you say such bad things? Maybe it makes Judaism look bad. Or maybe it's confusing people. All types of things, especially people that like these Reshaim. It's critical among the many jobs and tasks that a Mezaker Rabim has. It's very, very important for him or her to make sure to protect the public from things that they don't even know themselves are dangerous. And it's one of the most important things, as Zohar Kadosh says, is that you have to make sure that you separate the good and evil. You have to separate it. There's no question of there's a difference between good and evil, but there's a obligatory mitzvah for each person to separate it from themselves, but even more of a task and a chesed, a kindness for Am Yisrael to actually highlight it and bring the light to people who don't know different, who don't know why somebody with a very long beard and a longer career even is so wicked, or perhaps why a guy like Dror Kasuto, that relatively speaking seems like a nice person on the outside, seems very friendly, accepts everyone, Goyim, Jews, seems like a relatively nice person. Why would you highlight him as one of the 14 Erev Rav? Or perhaps Lord Sachs, that has been around for many decades and wrote many books. Why would you go after him and say he's a bad guy? The truth is that it's necessary, because the average person, average religious person, needless to say non-religious, the average religious person does not know how to tell the difference between good and bad. And it is our job to make sure that we highlight that there is a difference between good and bad, and they cannot coexist. Now, unfortunately, in today's world, when you bring light to such dark matters, many people immediately reject, and they start using some term they heard 5,000 times in different lectures, Lashon Hara, Rechilut, Motzi Shem Ra, and whatever other term they can remember off the top of their head, and pretty much vilify you, make you seem to be like the bad guy, which also questions the matter of why you're watching our video if we're the bad people. But needless to say, they attack you. What do they attack you with? They call you all types of names, they question your integrity, they question your this, they question your that, which in essence is much worse than what they're actually saying you're doing to somebody else. But they don't actually take that into consideration. Because generally speaking, what we're trying to do is bring light to a dark world full of people that look like they're good leaders from the outside, but only to people who do not know the emet. Now, if I told you that someone was a rapist or a murderer, I wouldn't necessarily have to prove my case for you to listen to me. You would say, okay, this guy is a murderer, he's a rapist, here's the charges by the police, by the court. Yalla, finish. This guy, we gotta do a protest until he's behind bars. But if I told you that someone is feeding you poison, which is sometimes more difficult to prove, because you have to test the food. You have to know what poison looks like and what it does. That requires a little bit more trust in the actual accuser than in the system itself than it does in just simply your own abilities. And that's really what it comes down to. Now, we've already brought up the fact that many of these Reshaim have done many bad things, but have been, no one has really addressed it. And the reality is that you have a outcome of an entire generation of people that do not know the obligation to keep Shabbat, do not know the obligation of being honest in business, do not know the obligation of being honest in their marriage, and so on and so forth. And this is the reason. When you have a large majority of people that are speaking to people in the public eye, whether it be in on their Shabbatons or in a public forum like the media, like YouTube and so on, and they're just feeding people lies, this is much worse than poison. This is much worse than poison, because usually poison, it has its effect right away. And you can see the outcome, and in essence you can pin down who the murderer is. In this particular case, you have an entire generation and tens of thousands of people listening to these speakers and not even knowing that they're being poisoned and being damaged and being spiritually murdered. And only to find out that this is the case after
they are told that their entire ideology is the opposite of what Hashem wants them to have. And that's really what you have here. You have a lot of people that have the opposite of the ideology that what you're supposed to have. Hence the reason of why people immediately retract, regress, sometimes attack the one that's bringing the truth to light. Instead of saying, you know what, okay, I don't really like what I'm hearing because I like this Manis, I like this Dro, I like this Ephraim, I like this Wopi, I like all of these people, I like these people. So let me just check. Why is he saying what is he saying? Why are they on the list? Like, what did they do? And then after you review the facts, if you still don't know, that simply means you don't know Torah. Then you have to go to shiur number 1 and go to school again, and there's a lot more work that needs to be done. But assuming you have basic knowledge of what's good and bad according to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, within 5 minutes you can see why each one of these people is on a list. And that's just simply the reality. What a lot of people do is they simply attack first, ask questions later. They assume that since they like this speaker, they like this rabbi, they assume that whoever is going against them has to be wrong. Why? Because our inner nature is to assume that by default we are right. If I chose this house, it must be the best house on the block. If I chose this car, this must be the best model this year. If I chose this job, this must be the best job available. If I chose this product, this is the best product in the world. We assume we're right. So when someone tells you, hey, by the way, you're wrong, immediately our ego blows up and says, there's no way that I'm wrong. It's not about the speaker. It's about me being wrong. That's not possible. And that's in essence one of the things that the Chazon Ish has been trying to teach us over these last few months with the Jewish HaShkafa. The Jewish HaShkafa, the Jewish ideology, is not something that's easily attained. And the reason why is because it requires us to not only test ourselves and compare ourselves to where we're really supposed to be, but also to challenge ourselves to change before even agreeing or even knowing what the change requires, simply because we know what he says has to be emet. There is no, oh, maybe he's wrong. As soon as a person understands what a Gadol Hador is, what a sage is in Judaism, there is no, I don't agree with him. So long as you think that you, with your 1 or 2 or 3 or even 20 years of Torah knowledge that you've learned in your yeshiva, or you learned on YouTube, or you learned in books on your own, wherever you learned it, the minute you think that you can challenge a Gadol Hador, this Jewish HaShkafa shiur is not really going to affect you. Why? You will be able to challenge what the Gedolim are saying in every aspect and never change. The first rule of tshuva is submitting to the truth. Whether you like it, don't like it, agree with it, disagree with it, understand it, don't understand it, submitting, lowering your ego, and making sure you realize, okay, this is emet, what I have is not so much emet, probably closer to shekel. Okay, I gotta change. I don't like it, I don't agree with it, I don't even understand why he wants me to do this, but it must be the emet if he's saying it, because he has no other benefit to tell us this if it's not to help us. He's not getting paid for it. In fact, he's actually losing as a result of it, if you think about the socioeconomic issues of Kiruv. When you teach Musar, you don't actually get more fans. It's the opposite many times. Why? Because you don't cater to everyone. You only cater to a specific crowd that is looking for the emet. If you were to do it for business, like the people on the list, then you would simply tell people whatever they want to hear in order to generate a larger crowd, in order to cater to everyone, in order to soothe everyone, and in essence make your market 8 billion people. But when you're teaching people musar, that's challenging their reality, challenging their emet, challenging what they think is true and what they think is good even, you're in essence only cater to people that want to change before they even know whether the change will work or not, before they even know whether the change is good for them or not, simply based on the belief that the Torah is emet and whoever spoke it is true. This is hard for many people to accept. Hence the reason why this job gets more and more difficult as you get more popular, as you get more students. Because many times, students that come on board, they like something that you hear, sometimes because it doesn't affect them, but it affects their best friend, it affects their wife, it affects their husband, it affects their kids, it affects somebody else. So they like it. Oh yeah, can you tell this to my husband? Oh, I like what you said in the shiur. Can you tell my wife this stuff? Oh, can you tell my son? Can you tell this one? Can you tell that? I like what you said. But the second you say something that affects them, I didn't like what you said last time. Why did you say that? For the same reason I said the stuff that you liked that I said about your girlfriend and your boyfriend and your husband and your cousin and everybody else that you like. For the same exact reason. That's what Chazal says. We don't say things out of our own common sense. We're simply saying what Chazal says. What our sages said, because we know that they toiled and toiled over the Torah, year after year, decade after decade, century after century, for the last 3,000 plus years, in order to arrive at a conclusive emet, and the difference between emet and shekel. And when you bring the emet to people, and that emet challenges the people that they like, the people that they admire, although initially it may create some wars, because you have the people that are rejecting this emet, want to fight you. They make all types of comments. They sometimes, if they were donating, they stop donating. If you were invited to their shul, they make sure you're disinvited. If there's people that like you, they try to convert them to not like you. And they do all types of things in order to foil your plans, if you will. So in essence, initially, it creates war. But the Zohar Kadosh says, those that bring the light to the darkness, where they show you the difference between the emet and the shekel, they are the ones that are truly bringing peace. Why? Because there is no such thing as peace if it's not based on emet. Any peace that's based on shekel, based on political correctness, based on just fitting in, based on, you're just doing things to be friends, you're just doing things just so there's no altercations, it's not real peace. I spoke to a nice guy recently, and I told him, listen, you tell me all these things that the local rabbi at your shul is doing, why don't you say something? He's doing all types of things. The board is run by one guy that's a mechalel Shabbat. Why don't you say something? He says, no, I don't want to make machloket. There's peace now. I don't want to make machloket. I don't want to have any debates, any arguments, because if I say something, it's going to create arguments. I don't want to make any arguments. And people think this is a mitzvah. By allowing the entire kehillah, the entire community, chas v'shalom, what's going on, the entire nation, to live under a lie, we think that's a mitzvah. Because there's no machloket. What Torah Kedosha tells us, that's false. Because that peace that you have by withholding the emet, by not telling the rabbi the truth, by not telling the community the truth, is not creating peace. It's creating falsehood. And that's why sometimes you see, many times, these people that say they love everyone, all Jews have a share of the world to come, you should love Jews. Who do they fight? Me. Wait, but you said you love all Jews. How come? Well, I'm not a Jew. I'll tell you, both my parents are Jews, Baruch Hashem. I'll do a giyur l'chumrah if you want. Well, how come you don't love me? No, but you said this about my Rebbe, you said this about my kehillah, you said this about this one, you said this. Yeah, but I said what the Torah says. How come you're so aggressive about me and you're not aggressive against the guy that's missionizing to Christianity? You're not aggressive against the guy that's violating of Shabbat. You're not aggressive against the guy that says Lashon Hara non-stop. You're not aggressive against the guy that goes against the Chachamim and distorts the Torah. How come you're only aggressive against the guy that's actually bringing emet to people? Oh, so you're only aggressive against me because I am foiling your plans. I'm foiling this fake peace that you have by telling you it's not peace at all. But if I agreed with you and I told you, yeah, listen, drive on Shabbat, do whatever you want, bring the missionaries to shul, eat pork on Yom Kippur if you want. Or like one guy told me today, they have an event on Tisha B'Av. What's an event Tisha B'Av? They're bringing Christians to shul. And they call it the Jews and the missionaries together. If I didn't see this with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe it. Tisha B'Av, event. Jews and missionaries together. Tisha B'Av event. Now, this is what's happening to our world. This world of internationalization, of viewing our Judaism as somewhat of like something that's here to share, and not necessarily think that we have a monopoly on the truth, like Lord Sachs says. No, Judaism doesn't have a monopoly on the truth. He wrote it in his book. And many Chachamim during that time when he wrote it, I think it was like something like 7-8 years ago, called him a kofer gamur in England. Said you have to retract this book, you have to take it off the shelves, burn it. What do you mean you don't have a monopoly on the truth? He claims that everybody has truth. Yoshke is true, Muslims are true, everything is true. Buddhism is true, idol worshippers are true, everybody is true. Everybody has truth. If you don't think that Judaism has a monopoly on the truth, you, my friend, have a very serious problem with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, when you bring the truth to people, although initially it does create war, it's similar to a milchemet mitzvah. A war that's a mitzvah. Am Yisrael, if you notice in the Torah, we didn't just initiate attacks for no reason. We listened to the prophet. Anyone who didn't listen to the prophet first, ask what Hashem wants, whether we're supposed to go to this war or not, lost the war. But when we asked Hashem, can I go to war? Should I go to war? Is this a war for me? If Hashem said, yeah, you went to the war, everybody could feel, oh, honey, I'm going to war, I'm going to kill a bunch of people and come back home. Like no one was worried he's going to die. Why? This is a mitzvah. Shomer mitzvah lo yidara. Someone that observes the mitzvah is not going to see anything bad. But if you went to war based on your own idea, you want to conquer land, you hate these people, just based on your own, he stole my parking space, he stole some business from me, he is my competition, that's not a mitzvah. Am Yisrael went to a few wars for the sake of mitzvah. Now, is a war pretty? No. When you look at the midrashim that detail what happened in these wars and how many people died and rivers of blood being created, both men, women, children, many people died. War is not pretty by any stretch of the imagination. Surely today people have a better idea of how ugly war is from all the movies that people waste their life watching. Especially the effects that they have in the video games. You shoot somebody, you chop, his arm falls off, his face falls off, and they give you all the graphic details of what happened during war. So in reality, unless you become desensitized, you realize that war is horrible. A horrible thing. You're killing somebody. That means that they're not going to have a father. That means that they're not going to have a brother. That means they're not going to have a husband. That means that this person is alive today, dead tomorrow. He's going to be missing limbs. He's going to be, someone that's no longer in this world. There's nothing pretty about it. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, mitzvah. If you do it because I said it, it's a mitzvah. Yeah, but how? Why don't we just all get along and be friends? Can't we all just get along? No. We cannot all get along. There's a time for war. Yeah, but how is this war good? Because the war is going to make peace. Yeah, but Hashem, that's an oxymoron. How could war make peace? Because this war that's a mitzvah This war that's a mitzvah is a war against the shekel. It's against the lies. By removing the lies, by removing idolatry, by removing things that are against Hashem, you are lessening the evil and allowing the emet to stand out even more. Hence the reason of why the Zohar Kadosh says, those that part the good and evil, they bring peace to the world. It's not the ones that say everybody, Hashem loves everyone, Hashem is, will forgive you for everything. No, that doesn't bring peace. That brings more shekel. The Jewish ideology is not one that's easy to attain simply because it requires you to not only believe this, but it requires you to live like this. To know that there's going to have to be a time where you too will have to go to war. A war that's gruesome, a war that may be in your eyes even evil. But nonetheless, understand that that war is required and that war in the end is good. The ends justify the means. It's not that you want to kill people, it's that you want to kill the shekel. You want to destroy the falsehood. And that's the reason why we keep coming out with these videos, we keep coming out with more information to wake up Klal Yisrael from their slumber. We're just sleeping at the wheel, while these Reshaim are just conquering more and more neshamot and causing more harm than you could even imagine. Now, part of the war requires sometimes for a person to know that if you're fighting a war for the sake of Hashem, you're not allowed to use the same animalistic nature that you use to fight a war for some government. The same animalistic nature that you used to have a fist fight when you were a kid. The wars of Hashem are not requiring you to have these animalistic nature. In fact, you're not supposed to have them. You're supposed to know that these animalistic natures will actually kill you, not help you live. This is why David HaMelech made it a law that if you just made a mistake, you made a mistake when you put on tefillin. And you put on tefillin, put the arm first, but not complete. Then you put the head, right? And you say bracha. First say bracha first time. But then if you speak in the middle, you say a second bracha. Ashkenazim usually do both. But nonetheless, if you spoke in between, you say a second bracha. Now if someone saw, oh, you did this, you said the second bracha, David HaMelech says, you're not allowed to come to war. Why? You spoke in the middle of tefillin. It's not like Chilul Shabbat. Not Chilul Shabbat. You're not a kofel. You're not Manis. You're not Ephraim. You're not Dror. You're not telling people to smoke marijuana. But it's enough of a sin. It's enough that you are going to put the entire army in danger. You're not allowed to go to war. Yeah, but I'm a billion. I worked out for 6 years straight. I could bench press 490 pounds. I could squat 1,000. I could kill 8 people with one sword. Not allowed to go to war. Why? You spoke in the middle of tefillin. What did I say though? You said hi to somebody. You didn't have a whole conversation. The rabbi came in and said, hey rabbi. That's it. Not even hey rabbi, hi. He said hi. In the middle of putting the arm in the head, you said something, you have to do it, you have to fix that. You do a second bracha. Right? That's already, David HaMelech says, can't go to war with us. Why? That little sin, you're not going to come back from war. And if you die, you're going to cause somebody else to die. Meaning what? Meaning that the only people that went to war in the army of David HaMelech were tzaddikim. Not people with animalistic nature that just wanted to chop some heads off. To go and fight the wars of Hashem, it requires a person to be a tzaddik. To be someone that knows Torah. Not to be someone that has good aim. Now, the Chazon Ish tells us a little bit more about the difference between us and the animals. In the first chapter, section number 7, after he's told us great details about different body parts, different aspects of the thought process, he now goes on and he starts telling us about the difference between us and animals. In section 7, he says the following: animals share their bodily structure with men, as well as their qualities and other aspects and their material makeup: flesh, blood, sinews, bone, and tissues. In so many words, we're exactly the same. You look different, the shape is different. The shape of your face is hopefully different than the cow and the orangutan and the lions and so on. Yes, but for all intents and purposes, same thing. You have two eyes, they have two eyes. You have a nose, they have a nose. You have ears, they have ears. You have a mouth, they have a mouth. You have a digestive system, they have a digestive system. You have a heart, they have a heart. You have a brain, they have a brain. Yes. Oh, can. For all intents and purposes, there's not really that much of a difference between you and the animal as far as the physical makeup of the two. Chazoni says they're living beings, they have senses like men, they eat in a similar manner to human beings. You know, they eat with their mouth just like you do. They have two genders, male and female. Now, the difference between man and beast lies in man's wisdom and ability to speak. Now, the Chazoni says that the senses of the animals are just like men. You can smell, they can smell. You can see, they can see. You can taste, they can taste. But yet, anyone that has either watched Discovery Channel or read some books knows that the senses of animals are sometimes much, much better than ours. Question is, how come you don't have the sense of smell of a dog? Dog's sense of smell is powerful. He could smell something from blocks away. Better yet, the sense of smell of a bee. A bee can smell something from miles away. Miles. How come you don't have the sense of smell? The way Hashem already created you in the image of Hashem, and you're the greatest of all creation, and so on. Why don't you just give me the best sense of smell, the best eyes, the best ears, the best everything? Like mamash, superhuman. That's also in the Torah. When it comes to the sense of smell, the Torah tells us that we're not allowed to pray or learn Torah any place that has a terrible smell. So if your wife just cleaned out the garbage, or one of your kids just, toddlers just decided that to make the middle of the living room the bathroom, or the garbage truck passed by the once or twice a week that it does, if you had the sense of smell of the dog and the bee, then guess what? You would never be able to pray. You would never be able to learn Torah. Because there's always something. There's always something within that distance. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in His infinite wisdom, gave you a precise sense of smell that's good for you. So even though there's a garbage truck 3 blocks away, it doesn't affect you. You can still pray. Even though the kid made the living room the bathroom, you're in the room, you don't smell it. It's far away unless you're kid special. You don't have to worry about this stuff. Why? You can just go to a different room and move on with your life. You could pray. Now what about sense of hearing? Why don't we have the hearing of some of these animals, like the dog actually, that can hear something from very far away? Why don't we have hearing like that? Because Chazal tells us, in order to learn Torah, you have to have Yeshuva Dat. What's Yeshuva Dat? Complete focus. The Torah is not history. The Torah is not mathematics. The Torah is not philosophy. The Torah is not some subject that you can just glance through it on your free time. The Torah is Dvar Hashem. It's the words of HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. You have to have complete focus, just like as if you had the Melech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Bechvodo Be'atzmo, him himself sitting right next to you, Chavruta. You're reading the Chumash, you're reading the Chazon Ish, you're reading some Musar, you're reading some Emunah book, you're reading some Halacha, you're reading some Gemara. You have to think as if HaKadosh Baruch Hu is sitting right next to you. You have to have complete focus if you want to remember and apply what you're learning. But if you could hear every single squeak from every corner, like the dog, guess what? You're never going to be able to. His conversation's interesting, her conversation's interesting. What was that sound? What was the other sound? Why did that happen? Why did this happen? Because you're hearing everything. You're never going to be able to be focused. And Hashem says, I want you to learn Torah. I don't want you to be a dog. I don't want you to listen to what's happening in your next door neighbor's house. I don't want you to care about what's happening downstairs. I want you to learn Torah, have Yeshuva Dat. So what kind of hearing do you have? You have the hearing that's perfect for you. Just enough to know what's going on, but more importantly, to know what is important in front of you. Now, the Chachamim ask a question. I believe it's the Khatam Sofer. Brings a question. Says that David HaMelech, Alav Shalom, found out from HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he was going to die on Shabbat. And he didn't want to die on Shabbat. He said to Hashem, let me die on Friday. Let me die on Friday. So no one has to deal with me, a dead body on Shabbat. Let me die on Friday so they can bury me on Friday. Hashem says, no, I can't. Why? Your Torah is so important to me. It's more important than 1,000 korbanot, 1,000 sacrifices that your son Shlomo HaMelech is going to bring in a Bet Mikdash. So to kill you a day early, I'm going to lose a day of Torah from you. He says, okay Hashem, so let me die on Sunday. Yom Rishon. He says, no. The second a person's kinghood is supposed to start, that's when it starts. You cannot be alive for an extra day. Your son is supposed to already be king by Sunday. So David HaMelech knew that he's going to die on Shabbat. He just didn't know which Shabbat. So what did he do? He had a trick. He knew that the Malach HaMavet could not touch him as long as he's learning Torah. The Gemara says, Masechet Brachot, if the Menuval comes to you, if the Satan comes to you, drag him to the Bet Midrash, meaning learn Torah. Learn Torah is going to protect you against the Malach HaMavet. So David HaMelech knew, so long as he learns Torah, Malach HaMavet can't take him. This is why, as a side note, we have the custom to have the fourth meal on Motzei Shabbat, Melaveh Malka. That's what the Takana that David HaMelech made, celebrating that he survived another Shabbat. Celebrating he survived another Shabbat. The fourth meal. So now, Malach HaMavet comes, and he knows, hey, I can't touch this David, but clock's ticking, I have a job, they're going to fire me. What am I going to do? I have to take this guy to Olam Haba. But he's studying Torah, I can't touch him. So what does he do? He makes some noise outside. David HaMelech hears somebody's a tree, and he gets up. And as he gets up, he goes down the stairs, and for a second, he wasn't thinking about Torah. The Malach HaMavet was able to take away one of the steps. He fell and died. Took his life. That 1 second. So the Khatam Sofer asked, wait a minute, hold on a second. Wait. What? Every time somebody made noise outside, David HaMelech would get up? What kind of Torah is he studying? This is Gdol Ador. This is Malach Hashem. This is Mashiach. What? Somebody made noise outside, you get up? So it's a big question. Because Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, that came many, many years after him, says that anyone that goes away from his Torah just to go deal with mundane things, they're going to feed him gechalei tamim. They're going to feed him coal that doesn't ever go out. Why? You're learning Torah, but then your phone rang. Oh, who's it? Oh, Steve, let's see what he wants. Hey, what's up, Steve? What's going on? Oh, yeah, she called you? Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay, still close the book. Yeah, it goes away. That phone call just called you some gechalei tamim. It's not just regular gechalim, not just regular coals, special ones. Gemara says, Masechet Brachot says special ones, retamim. This one's special. This one is not on sale. This one, premium. Doesn't go out. Why? You treat the Torah like it's some history book. That's why Chamim say, you should have already in your mind, when you first start learning, whenever I stop, it's because I intended to stop. When you start studying, you don't know when you're going to stop. You intend, let's say you want to study an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours, but sometimes there's going to be distractions. You already have in your head, okay, whenever I stop, for whatever reason, I intended to stop. You shouldn't stop for every little thing, but nonetheless, this is already remove you from this horrific situation. All of us are guilty of this. So how could be us, little nothings, or at least me, little nothing, could be compared to David HaMelech? What, he got up also? Because somebody was on a tree? Someone was making noise on a tree? So Khatam Sofer says, no. David HaMelech was Kodesh Kodeshim. And he was learning Torah. But he also knew that he heard this tree outside for a reason. Someone must be climbing a tree on Shabbat. And that's Chilul Shabbat. I have a mitzvah to make and I'm the only one that can make it. If somebody else can make this mitzvah of you must rebuke your nation, then I can just continue studying. But since I'm the one that heard it and no one else is here, the obligation is on me. I have to go rebuke this person. Tell him, what are you doing? You're Mechalel Shabbat, Hashem's going to kill you. So David HaMelech didn't get up because he got up for everything. Is that he knew that someone is violating Shabbat right now. He didn't know it's a Satan making noise. He knew someone's violating Shabbat. I got to go rebuke him. I got a mitzvah to make. If there was somebody else here in the room, send them over. But nobody else here. The obligation is on me. Because just like the Gemara says in Masechet Avodah Zarah and Masechet Shabbat, if somebody sees another person sinning, and they're able to rebuke, and they don't, the sin goes on them. David HaMelech says, I don't want to go up to Shammai Mechalel Shabbat, because I decided to learn. I heard it. I got to do something about it. So, the Chazon Ish says that we have this special sense of hearing that's lesser than the animals for a reason. So we don't hear every little thing, so we could have Yeshuv Adat, so we could have complete focus when we learn Torah. The animals, on the other hand, are given a better sense of smell sometimes, better sense of vision sometimes, better sense of hearing. Vision is probably the easiest one to understand. If all of us had the vision of the eagle that can see all the way from the heavens, from the sky, he can see a little mouse. The best vision in the world is for the eagle has it. If we had it, we'd all be guaranteed to go to Gehenom, because our eyes would look everywhere that we're not supposed to, and no one would be able to tell, except HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. So we'd have a private Gehenom no one knows about. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, let me save you the trip. You don't have that good of a vision. Which, by the way, you should know, our vision used to be better. Used to be better. The Gemara says that someone that has a tzon, he's a shepherd, and says, how does he know what's his sheep and cattle and so on versus his friend? He says, whatever he can see with the naked eye is his. If it's a huge land and so on, not everything has fences. He's walking with his son, and then the other guy, and there just could be miles away. It's whatever he can see. And the Gemara says, well, how far can he see? How far can the person see? And the way they describe it, he can see 18 miles with the naked eye. Today, if you can see a mile, you have great vision. 1 mile you can see with the naked eye, you have amazing vision. In reality, most people can't see past 2 blocks. Already becomes blurry. LASIK, cheap. Anyway, so our vision actually has deteriorated over the years, but for our benefit. Why? Just look at how many sins we're making with the poor vision that we have. Imagine we had better vision. Hashem yishmor v'yatzil. In order to help people do tshuva, I tell them, listen, you accepting yourself tikkun abrit? Okay, give me your eyes, let me take them out. That's the only way. It's the only way to do tshuva. Take your eyes out. Look how many sins people make with their eyes all day. So, Chazon Ish says the difference between man and beast lies in man's wisdom and ability to speak. The Chachamim continuously make a big deal about the fact that man has wisdom that animals do not. Man has the ability to speak, and animals do not. This is repetitive across the Gemara and the Zohar, all over the place. Constantly mentioning that there is a significant difference between this species, this cow, this lion, this dog, this cat, this whatever animal this is, and this 2-legged animal called a human being. Why? Because this human being has wisdom, has chokhmah. Now the Gemara in Masechet Nedarim, page 41a, says even further, says, who is poor? Someone who does not have wisdom. Because one that has wisdom, what is he lacking? And if he has everything but no wisdom, what does he really have? Meaning, if you don't have wisdom, that makes you poor. Not if you don't have any money. If you have wisdom, you're not lacking anything. Yeah, but I don't have any money. Who cares about money? You have wisdom. And if you have everything, you have houses and hotels and businesses and wives and children, all the things of the world. But you don't have wisdom, you have nothing. You have absolutely nothing. So, the Midrash elaborates even further. Says that a person who does not have wisdom, nevela srocha tova mimenu. A person who does not have wisdom, a dead carcass of an animal is better than him. I mean, on one hand you told me, okay, if I have wisdom, I have everything. Great. If I don't have wisdom, I'm poor. Okay, great. Now you're telling me even worse. Now you're telling me if I don't have wisdom, a dead animal in the street, some raccoon that 15,000 cars ran over, is better than me. I mean, that's pretty insulting, Hashem. It's not politically correct. Some of these rabbis will go against you, Hashem. They're not going to like what you said. They're going to kick you out of the shul. They're going to accept you for saying such things. Saying a raccoon is better than me. Not even a living one. One of these little dinosaurs you guys have here in Florida that cars like to run over is better than me. How could it be? How could it? And this is Divrei Chazal. This is not like some opinion. This is what it says. Someone doesn't have wisdom. It says the dead raccoon, the dead lizard, dead lion, better than him. How come? It says first off, with the dead raccoon, the dead lion, the dead lizard, if you're skilled, you can still do something with it. take the skin, make it into a little handbag, sell it on, in Manhattan for like $500. You could take a few of the things that they have, make something out of it, make some money out of it. A person who doesn't have any wisdom, can't do nothing with them. Worthless. So, Chachamim say, okay, what's the raya? What's the proof that this is really the case? That someone who doesn't have wisdom, a dead animal is better than him? The Midrash says, the proof is Moshe Rabbeinu himself. Look at Moshe, the Midrash says. Moshe Rabbeinu was the Avi HaChokhmah, was the father of wisdom. He brought us the Torah. He took us out of Egypt. He was the prophet of all prophets. He brought us the man. He saved us from ourselves many times. He went up to Mount Sinai 40 days and 40 nights 3 times without eating, without drinking. His body here, his neshama over there. Was able to speak to Hashem face to face, the only human being that ever existed or will ever exist that did it. No one will ever be like Moshe Rabbeinu, including the Mashiach. Meaning this, Moshe Rabbeinu, big deal of big deals. When it came down to superpowers, Moshe Rabbeinu had them. Flew in the air, had a lot of power, beat a giant, was a genius, and knew a lot more Torah than all of the rabbis that ever existed combined. The Torah that we have is the essence of Torah. The real Torah, only Moshe Rabbeinu knew. That's why the Malachim didn't understand. How are you going to give the real Torah to this person that's the son of a woman? Hashem says, no, I'm giving him the Torah, but the people, it's just the essence of the Torah. The real Torah, no, only he. Moshe Rabbeinu, it's different. So this Moshe Rabbeinu, Kodesh Kodashim, wrote 13 Sifrei Torah in one day. He built the Mishkan. No one else was able to build up this whole thing. He built it. And after everything that he did, he still waited for Hashem to say, Moshe, come in. Come into the Mishkan. Come into the Mishkan. Chazal says, if Moshe Rabbeinu would have simply gone into the Mishkan, without waiting for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to tell him, come in, giving him the permission, Moshe Rabbeinu, chas v'shalom, would be considered worse than an animal. You know, what about he took him out of Egypt, and everything I just said doesn't make a difference. Because someone who does not have wisdom is worse than a dead animal. What's this wisdom? Being able to decipher right and wrong. If Moshe Rabbeinu wouldn't have been able to decipher that he has to understand you're supposed to knock if you're going into a room, into a house, including Hashem's house. Yeah, but what, Hashem needs my permission? What, Hashem doesn't know I'm coming? It's not about Hashem doesn't know. It's simple tact, manners. If Moshe Rabbeinu didn't have wisdom to have manners, then it's just like the animal. Why? Because the fox goes in and out whenever he wants. The dog comes in and out whenever he wants. The cat goes in and out whenever he wants. Sits on top of your head if he wants. If you as a human being are just like that, you have no wisdom. To teach us, Rabotai Yekarim, that manners is a key part of your wisdom. If we don't have good manners, a dead animal is better than us. Many times you see people that look religious and for all intents and purposes act religious. On Sukkot you see them carrying a lulav and a etrog. On Pesach they eat matzah. On Yom Kippur sometimes they will wear white. Other times they'll just simply wear regular clothes like the rest of the year, just newer, and more importantly, they'll fast. On Shabbat, you see them dressed up to go to shul. Every day they put on tefillin if they're a man. For all intents and purposes, he or she look religious. You see her walking around with a kisui rosh. But then you see them do certain things that even animals don't do. Someone cuts them off in traffic, and all of a sudden a sewer comes out, but not from the ground. All of a sudden somebody did something they don't like, and you start seeing them roar like a lion. But the lion is offended by their roar, because his roar is much better. Their roar is full of like spitting and cursing, and it like kind of sounds like it, but not really. But it's a human being, and then the lion is confused. Why are you taking my job? Who's doing your job if you're doing my job? You start seeing people roar and yell and scream. Why? Oh, she took my shopping cart. She cut me in line. Cash register is not working. This cashier doesn't know what she's doing. This guy doesn't want to sell me this stuff because he said somebody else already bought it. And she's yelling and screaming. And some people act much worse than animals. I mean, the horror, the stories that you hear on a day-to-day basis. See, you can't even say these people are animals, because animals don't do this. Meaning that manners is not something that is automatically inherent in people just because they keep Shabbos. Manners is not automatic to someone that has kisui rosh. Manners is not something that's automatic if you attended yeshiva. Manners, like yirat shamayim, and like all good character traits, is something one has to work on in order to acquire. Good manners are not natural to people. Mainly because we are a selfish creature. And one of the ways that the Torah teaches us manners is from animals. The Gemara says, look at you, you lowly man. That if it wasn't for the Torah, you'd have to learn how to be clean from the cat. Because the cat cleans itself. And many other animals, we learn different things from them. And the Chazon Ish elaborates and he says, animals serve man, such as the ox that bears a yoke, and a donkey that is the beast of burden. Now, the Torah says in Sefer Dvarim, chapter 22, verse number 10, that you're not allowed to have the donkey and the ox work together. There's a complete prohibition, just like eating pork is prohibited, just like touching your wife if she's nidah is prohibited, just like driving on Shabbat is prohibited. It's prohibited to have the donkey and the ox plow your field together. Torah says it. Question is why? The donkey plows, that's his job, and so does the ox. That's their role. What if I don't have two donkeys? What if I have one donkey and one ox? So what, I'm just going to give it to the ox by himself, or just give it to the donkey by himself? Might as well use both of them. No, Torah says it's forbidden. In fact, it's forbidden to use any other mix of animals. In fact, if you have a mule that his father is a horse, but the other mule, the father is a donkey, you're not allowed to have two mules. They both have to have the same type of parents. Question is why? It says you have to learn midot from this pasuk. What midot? Look at the work that's being done. If the ox and the donkey were to plow together, something horrible would happen. The ox is clearly stronger, which means that now, although they're both pulling, since the ox is stronger, he's going to do more work than the donkey. And that's not fair. Yeah, but he's an animal. So, he's a creation of Hashem. Why should he work harder than the guy that's getting paid the same amount? Why? Better yet, if they work together, then the donkey is going to look at the ox and he's going to notice that the ox, since it chews its cud, it's constantly chewing, which to the donkey looks like he's constantly eating, he's constantly being fed, but I'm not being fed. Why? Because the donkey eats, he swallows, finished. The ox chews its cud, so it swallows, regurgitates, comes back out. So it's constantly chewing, so it looks like you're constantly feeding the ox. How come he's getting paid more than me? We're doing the same job. He's driving a cab, I'm driving a cab. He's fixing the closet over there, I'm fixing the closet over there. How come he's getting 1,000 a week and I'm getting 200? It's not fair. Why? Because he's your brother? He's getting paid more. It's not fair. If we're doing the same job, we should get paid the same amount. So it's even though you're not paying him more, it looks like it. It looks like you're paying the ox more to the donkey. It's already not good. Horrible. Even though it's just a donkey. Third, the donkey is not a kosher animal. The ox is. And the Baal HaTurim says this is symbolic of a tzaddik doing business with a rasha. The prohibition for a tzaddik to do business with a rasha. Many times you see religious people do business. And sometimes they don't necessarily care so much about who they do business with. Why? Because cash is green. In America, at least. So they figure, listen, I'm in a partnership with this guy on this building. I'm in a partnership with this guy on this company. But he's a mechalel Shabbat, right? It's not a big deal because it's just, I'm not. It's not big. No, it is a big deal. He's a rasha, you're a tzaddik. Not allowed to be in a partnership together. You're not allowed to be in a partnership together. You can work for him. He can work for you. You can do certain things like that. But to be in a partnership like that, no good. And even working together is problematic. Why? Shouldn't be together. It's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be. Many times people have religious problems, even if they're religious, because of the people they choose to do business with. Just a couple of weeks ago, a guy asked me a question. He's like, listen, I just got into this partnership. I guess I should have asked you this question before I bought into it. But my partner, he doesn't keep Shabbat. So he wants to run the laundromat on Shabbat. Is that okay? I said, yeah, you were supposed to ask me before you bought into the business. Yeah, but he doesn't keep Shabbat anyway. I said, it doesn't make a difference. You now own it. Now you have a problem. Depends. Somebody attend, doesn't attend, isn't known that the person's Jewish. Point is, why did you get yourself into this mess in the first place? That you now have to find some type of leniency of how to get yourself out of this hole because you can't get out of the partnership. If you told the guy, listen, I don't want this partnership anymore, he goes, okay, listen, I'll just take 100% for free then. No big deal. No, I want you to buy me out. Hey, sorry, I spent the money already. I'm not buying nothing out. You bought in, that's it. Why did you get yourself into this mess? Why didn't you ask the rabbi first? A lot of times we make decisions first and then ask the rabbi after we've got into a mess. The Baal HaTurim says you have to learn from a donkey and the ox. They're not allowed to work together. Why? One's a tzaddik, one's a rasha. Find another way. Find another way. Rabbi, listen, I have these 2 job offers. Okay. Well, one job pays more money. Okay. The other job pays less money. Yeah, that usually happens. When there's one's more, the other one's usually less. Okay, so what's the question? Well, listen, the one that pays more, he doesn't really, he's not really into this whole Judaism thing. He wants me to work on the holidays, and he says on Fridays I have to work a full day. I have to leave work at 5 o'clock, which means that I'm going to have to violate Shabbat, part of the year. You said you had a question. Yeah, well, that's the question. The other guy says that he'll let me work whatever schedule I want, with Judaism and everything, but it's a lot less money. Yeah, you said you had a question. Yeah, that's the question. Which job should I take? That's not a question. That's not a question. Violating Shabbat is not a question. It's like saying, Rabbi, I want to go to Gan Eden, but Gehenom at the same time. There's no question here. There's no permission to violate the Torah for the sake of money. Why did you get yourself in this situation in the first place? The second the guy says you're not allowed to leave early for Shabbat, you're not allowed to work a schedule that allows you to take off Jewish holidays, it's no longer a job offer. Yeah, well, I don't have any other job. Okay, then pray to Hashem harder. There's no question. You're not allowed to work on Yom Kippur. You're not allowed to work on Shabbat. It's not a question if you want to go to Gan Eden. You want to go to Gehenom, Mabruk, enjoy yourself. But so long as you think it's a question, you haven't learned from the donkey. You haven't learned from the ox. Lastly, Chazal tell us that this donkey and ox example is also symbolic of intermarriage. No matter how nice the donkey is and how beautiful the ox is, it's forbidden for them to be together and bring a new animal to the world. Just like it's forbidden for a Jew and a Gentile to bring children to the world or even be together intimately. Forbidden completely. Yeah, but she's a really nice girl. Doesn't make a difference. Yeah, but he's really rich. Doesn't matter. Yeah, but he accepts my Judaism. It's just that, he doesn't want to be Jewish himself. It's not a question. These are not questions. You have to understand, intermarriage is forbidden under all circumstances in Judaism. If you're a guy, you can marry whoever you want among the Gentiles. If you're a German, you can marry Chinese, you can marry Portuguese, you can marry a Spaniard, you can marry a Greek, you can marry an Arab, you can marry whoever you want. But if you're a Jew, you're only allowed to marry a Jew. Now, by the way, for all of the wonderful Gentiles that watch our shiurim, you are forbidden from marrying a Jew. And if you marry a Jew, you are guilty of violating the 7 Noahide laws, specific law of murder. Because what you're doing by being married to a Jew is you are murdering their neshama. So long as you remain married to a Jew, you're committing murder anew every day. Yeah, but I love him. It's not a question. A Jew is not allowed to marry a non-Jew. Even if they're wonderful people, even if they're exceptionally smart and exceptionally beautiful, and all of the things that you can say, and they most likely are, and you're most likely right, still not allowed. Even if the donkey says love you text messages to the ox every single day on WhatsApp, with a little emoji next to it and a kiss, doesn't make a difference. Not allowed. Not allowed. Not allowed. This we learned from the animals. These animals, Rabotai Yekarim, the Chazon Ish continues, are also a source of food for man, in the form of milk and eggs. Some provide wool for man's clothes. Some serve as food themselves. They were created in many forms and types, and their nutritional needs differ from type to type. It's truly amazing how HaKadosh Baruch Hu created everything in such a way that everything in the world is needed. You look at a sheep, it grows a ton of wool. For what? It's not cold. They're not growing in just cold areas. Why? So the man can just one day go, give it a nice little quick haircut, take everything that he grew up over the last, I don't know, few years, however long it takes, and make a sweater out of it. Make something out of it. For mattresses, for covers, for clothes, for whatever. Yeah, but took me a long time to grow this wool. Okay, thank you, it's for me. Sorry. What gives you the right to take the wool from the sheep? What gives you the right to take the meat from the cow? What gives you the right to take the eggs from the chicken? Technically, they're supposed to be little chicklets. What gives you the right? The Gemara says in Masechet Pesachim, page 49, a person that does not learn Torah is not allowed to eat meat. Meaning, you're not allowed to eat the cow. You're not allowed to eat the bird. Why? If you don't learn Torah, you're never going to acquire wisdom, and therefore there is no difference between you and the cow, you and the chicken. There is no valid reason in Shemayim to say you're allowed to eat meat. Technically, all secular people are forbidden from eating meat, according to the Torah. In fact, even religious people that don't learn Torah, they just religious, they just keep Shabbat because they grew up that way, also not allowed. If you don't learn Torah, if it's not part of your life to learn Torah, you're not allowed to eat, technically. Why? You're not different than the cow. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu already paid us up front. He said, I'm going to assume you're going to learn Torah. I'm going to make a cow delicious, especially on a barbecue. I'm going to make the chicken. Make as many eggs as you need. Toot, 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 and I forgot about them the second after you took them away. It's not knocking on the door, hey, give me my eggs, let's go. I know it's you. You're the one that came yesterday also. No, I know, I already know your address. Or you say, you know what? You took my eggs, I'm not laying eggs anymore. No more eggs. No eggs for you. You took eggs already for 3 months straight. That's enough for you. No more eggs. If I was a chicken, that's what I would do. Keep taking my eggs? Okay, I'm not going to have any more eggs anymore. What's the point? Just for you to eat them? Thank God I'm not chicken. You guys would starve to death. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made the chicken lay eggs regularly, easily. No pain. It's a blessing you tell in the, at least in the Sephardic world, I believe also in the Ashkenazi world, may you have the baby like the chicken lays the eggs, meaning painless. But if we don't learn Torah, Rabotai, we have no right to eat the eggs, or the chicken, or the steak, nothing. Meaning that the Torah is what distinguishes us from these animals. We're not like the Goyim that simply are allowed to eat everything. Now, even the Goyim have to have certain rules, where they're not allowed to torture the animals, they're not allowed to eat the animal while it's still alive. But there are some that have, unfortunately, no belief in God, like some people in Asia. They believe in statues or in atheism and things of that nature, where simply they eat everything that moves except cars, and everything with legs except chairs. People are surprised that they're eating bats in China. That's the least of it. There are certain goyim in Asia, they eat monkey brain while the monkey's alive. They don't kill him. They actually have a certain sadistic pleasure in seeing the monkey suffer. generally speaking, the whole shellfish situation is disgusting in itself. Aside from the fact that shellfish are pretty much the cockroaches of the sea, how do you cook them alive? I've never cooked any lobster, Baruch Hashem, but some people that have told me, listen, even though the lobster doesn't speak English, you can hear him screaming in the pot. They put him in boiling water, you can hear him scream. I don't know what a lobster scream sounds like, but somebody told me it doesn't sound so good. That's vicious. That's a vicious thing. Many times you see them eat all types of things that are completely foreign to us Jews. Doesn't make any sense. There are cooking shows where they have certain people go to foreign lands just to show how unusual the food of others are. So you see them eat all types of bugs, all types of, I think it's in Thailand, they have a morning coffee line, but not for coffee. You know, here you have morning line for coffee in Starbucks, or you're in Manhattan, there used to be one of these little huts that the Arabs have in every corner. Over there, they have a different line in the morning. What is it? Poison from snakes. They have a little snake, a little ring of snakes, they take the snake out, put them on a cup, take out some poison, here you go, $20. Good morning. Snake poison. Good morning. That's your morning. There's even people that take a special pleasure in eating fish that is known to be poisonous. And the chef is only hired if he knows how to take the sack full of poison out, and he's only hired if he takes the first bite. If he makes it, we'll eat it. And they have a certain pleasure to eat this fish. Why? Because, your life's on the line. For what? For lunch. You want to have lunch, you want to put your life on the line. This is foreign to us Jews. It should be, at least. Should not be. This is not normal behavior for us. It shouldn't really be normal for them either. And for many of them it's not. But nonetheless, many people do this. They eat all types of foreign things. Now, when you get further and further from Hashem, what ends up happening is you do things that are even worse than that. There's even a tribe of people from India that they take advantage of the customs of the Hindus, which is to not bury the bodies. Anytime somebody dies over there, they put them on a little raft and they ship them into sea. Now, many times those bodies don't burn and they fall into the ocean. So this tribe of of Indian people, what do? They go into the ocean, they dig out the dead bodies and they eat them. They eat them. This is their lunch, dinner, souffle, filet, dark meat, white meat, whatever you want. To them it's pretty normal. Meaning the bottom of the barrel, it's not far from them. It is them. A Jew is supposed to be different in all aspects. We're not saying you're not allowed to eat. But when you make food your life, you become an idol. You become a idol worshiper to your food. One guy told Rabbi Chaim that he was meeting him. Like, this steakhouse has this special type of steak. Now, Rabbi Chaim is not exactly a big meat eater or a big restaurateur or anything. But they met at some place, I think it was one of the events, whatever it was, and he said, this place is the best. Why is it the best? He says, because the steak here, it takes 6 months to make it. Why did it take 6 months? He says, after they slaughter the cow, they take the meat and they smoke it for 6 months. 6 months to smoke this meat. Like, somebody has to go every day, look at the meat, turn it, this, do that, to make sure it doesn't go bad, for 6 months. And then after 6 months of doing this, cooking it takes 3 days. You have to put it in on the ground, in a hole inside a hole. What happens here? First of all, the poor cow, what kind of suffering she has. 6 months just to cook it. What did she do? What kind of sinner was she that she has to be cooked for 6 months? But on top of that, if that's not bad enough, people think this is normal. This is like okay. Now, you ever see a lion prepare his meal for 6 months? Lion sits there, hangs out, he gets hungry, sees a deer, eats it. Doesn't think about it for 6 months. Doesn't say, you know what, let me hunt them when it's dark. That way, the light, the animal doesn't hunt for 6 months. The animal doesn't prepare and salivate over a specific calf or a specific deer or a specific anything for 6 months or 2 months or 2 weeks. Yet, we literally spend hours and hours and hours of our life, and sometimes weeks and months of our life, preparing some meal that total time frame of consuming it, 15 minutes. Took 6 months to prepare the meal, but 4 or 5 years to get this cow to eat. So 4 years to raise the cow. On top of that, 6 months to smoke it. 3 days to cook it. For how long? You ate it for 15 minutes, just to excrete it out of your body 3 hours later. How long did the actual taste survive in your mouth? Maybe 4 to 8 seconds. So even though it took you 15 minutes to eat it, it's a total of maybe a minute of pleasure. Took you 6 months. Or sometimes people, okay, let's say not so extreme, 6 months. Every night, every day, 3 hours to cook dinner. Why? Why? 3 hours to cook dinner? Put some pasta in water, eat, go to sleep, yalla! What 3 hours? Every day has to be, do what? Every day Shabbat, Yishtabach Shemo. That's how much time you have in your day? Eat something, get full, move on with your life. People make everything out of dinner. Oh, which restaurant do you want to go to? I don't know. Which one you want to go to? Oh, Chinese? No. Tahiti? No, eat. An hour and a half to pick the restaurant. Finally, you go to the restaurant. Oh, this one has a line. It's worth it. Okay, you wait online for an hour. Or better yet, in New York or in different places like Los Angeles, what do? You make reservations 3 weeks in advance. Meaning you're thinking about this meal 3 weeks. Just to go spend $500 on a little cracker and some salad on it and call it dinner. And then pretend, oh wow, it's amazing. It's amazing. Wow. You know what the reality is? Everybody goes home and eats real food. They go spend $500 at that restaurant and they go eat a burger at home. Because they're still starving when they get home. But they pretend like, this is this is high society. What happens to those people, Rabotai? 6 months to smoke meat, 3 weeks to make reservations, 3 hours to finally pick something to eat. What happens to those people? The Chazon Ish is telling us, you've turned the animal into your God. Your food became your God. There's no problem with eating. There's no problem with even eating good food. I like good food just like you do. What, you think the Kohanim, they ate, how much they ate? The Gemara says that Rabbi Elazar ben Rabbi Shimon was a Kohen. He was huge, he was humongous from all the korbanot he would eat every day. Him and another Chacham was so big, they were so giant, that a bull can walk under their stomach. If they were stomach to stomach, that's how big they were. Enormous people. Allowed to eat. But even the Kohanim, there was a law. 2 days, 1 night, finished. After that, you can't eat it. The Korban, you have to eat it that day, that night, by next morning, finished. That's it. No more smoking meat for 3 weeks. No more, reserving it for 2 months. No. Why? The whole point of the food is for the mitzvah. Not for you to salivate over it and think about it and forget about Torah for the next 3 weeks. Because you're salivating over some meal. And whether it's going to come with salad or it's not going to come with salad. Or you're going to pick the fries or the potatoes that are crackers and really they're organic from Tahiti. Stop making food your life. It's okay to eat good food, but khalas. People make it their whole life. And that's what happens. They turn the animal that's supposed to serve them into their God. Chazon Ish says, these animals were created in different forms and types, and their nutritional needs differ from type to type. Some do not benefit human beings. For instance, beasts of prey, snakes, vermin, and insects. But the truth is that these too have a purpose. Although not all of them are known. One thing that we found out in recent history is that snakes, aside from making good shoes and jackets, they also make medicine. Some of the most advanced medicine in the world comes from the poison of snakes. Many other things that are investigated, we find out that they have extraordinary medicinal value. But other times, we don't know what the benefit is. Unless we pay close attention to nature. And we realize that if it wasn't for them, we simply would not be able to survive. For example, one thing that's been shown to us in the recent few decades is the value of bees. Now bees, for most of history outside of the Jewish world, were viewed simply as something that makes delicious honey. Honey was the candy of yesteryear. Most people don't really use it for candy anymore. But Rashi says, 900 years ago, the way you would teach a young boy the Aleph Bet is you would make a board, engrave the letters on it, and put honey in it. And every time the kid got the letter right, he pronounced the letter right, you'd let him lick the letter. Why? That way he could subconsciously connect the Hebrew alphabet with sweetness. And that's why for the rest of his life, he would always want to learn Torah. Because to little kids, when they're first learning Aleph Bet is their Torah. It's the equivalent of you, older people, learning Gemara, learning Mishnah, learning Halakha. In fact, it's better. Because they're not obligated to do like you are, and most importantly, they don't have sins like we do. So now, honey was very valuable throughout all of time. But surely, there's sugar cane and there's other things that are sweet in the world. So, if the world had less bees, people didn't know what kind of damage that would cause. Until they found out that the fact that there was less bees in the world made many farms and many plants suffer, because the way that many of them would get the pollen, would get the nectar, move from field to field and so on, was from the bees. Because since these bees go on every single flower, some of the dust of this flower stays on them, and they transfer it to a different place. And you don't realize this is happening until there's less bees.
China has people pollinating themselves the flowers.
There you go. In China they're actually doing it. They don't have any bees over there. They ate them too, since they have legs. So there are many, many things that there's a benefit for them and we simply don't know it. Chazon Ish says sometimes these animals are used to punish us. And sometimes one can learn wisdom and ethics from them. The Gemara says in Masechet Brachot that somebody came to Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa and told him that there is a enormous, dangerous snake called the Arod. And the Arod was killing people by the dozens. No one can kill it. Everyone's scared to death. What do we do? Rabbi Chanina understood that this is a mitzvah that he's the only one that's able to fulfill. He got up from away from his Torah. He said, okay, show me where it is. Everyone was scared, but tzaddik is going to help. Baruch Hashem. Tomo, he's over there. He's in that hole. Rabbi Chanina sticks his leg inside the hole and just waits there. Everyone's nervous. What's the tzaddik doing? If the snake fights him, we're going to be responsible for the Gedol Ador dying. He's sitting there relaxing, whistling, waiting for the snake. Eventually, snake bites. He pulls the leg out, and everyone sees the snake died. The snake bit Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa, but the snake died. Rabbi Chanina says, this is to show us that it's not the arod that kills. It's not the snake that kills. It's the sins that kill. Meaning, Rabbi Chanina knew he had no sins on his account. He had no sins. There's no way that the snake can kill me. Anyone that he killed, it's because in Shamayim he said, oh, this guy violated Shabbat. This guy committed adultery. This guy did such and such, death penalty. Sometimes the animals come to the world to punish us. That's what the Chazon Ish says. Sometimes they're there to teach us musar. We learn that we're obligated to wake up early from what? From a rooster. No matter where you put the rooster will wake up the crack of dawn. You're still sleeping at 10 o'clock, the rooster's better than you. We are already accustomed to their existence, and we feel that without them, the world would be lacking. The world would not be beautiful and complete without beasts of prey. We see, Rabotai, that the animals of the world, many of us have become accustomed to them. You see a cat, you see a bird. Once you grow up, well, it's a cat, bird, cow, well, no big deal. The force of habit dulls the sense of excitement that one should have upon seeing any form of life. In reality, what the Chazon Ish is trying to tell us is that since we've seen chickens and we've seen birds and we've seen cows, we're no longer excited when we see them. We don't think it's anything special, like when my little kids see a bird, oh, a bird. Adults say, it's a bird. But the kids, a bird, no, bird. Oh, butterfly. Why? For them it's still new. You're old already, ancient. You've seen birds. And they fly, and they fly. You don't think it's a big deal. Chazon Ish says, that's a deficiency in you, not the kid. You're supposed to be enamored by the fact and amazed by the fact that this little creature is just flying. And there are so many different types of birds. One's a blue jay, and one's a woodpecker, and one's a dove, and one's a this, and one's a that. And they all have enough parnasah to eat. And they all can fly until whenever. And they all have nests, and they know how to take a little piece of wood and make it into a house. You can make a wood into a match. And they can all live without worrying about a mortgage, without worrying about who's going to drive what car, without worrying about what college you're going to attend. They all live their life comfortable. And they're flying wherever they want to fly to. And every year they know when the seasons are going to change and they fly to different places. And it's amazing. But you saw them so many times, like, oh yeah, no bird. I remember when I was in New York, there was a lot of doves in New York. Or pigeons, whatever they're called. Doves, pigeons. I don't really know what the difference is. But to us, New Yorkers, those flying rats. That's what we call them. There's so many of them. And there's also so many rats. Like, oh yeah, it's a flying rat. It's a walking rat. There's so many rats and so many pigeons, you don't know the difference anymore. Reality is wrong. Why? It's amazing that there's a bird flying. Amazing. It's amazing that there are so many species in the world, and every single one of them HaKadosh Baruch Hu thought about and has a specific reason of not only why this species is in the world, and its parents are in the world, and its children are in the world, but even more so, why you saw it. Like how it applies to your life, how it affects your life. There's somebody that did research called the butterfly effect, of how when the butterfly flaps its wings, how it has an endless effect around the globe. Whether you want to challenge it or not challenge it is not my business. The point being is that in itself shows you that every single thing that exists in the world has not only a purpose in the world, but has a significant purpose. Everything. And if you saw it, that means it has a significant purpose in your life. Not just generally speaking. But because we saw so many times, we become dull. This is why the Aron HaKodesh had an image of two angels on top of it, called the Chuvim, the cherubs. And what's the image of the cherubs? Two little babies. Two little babies looking up and looking at each other at the same time. Why do they have this image? Chazal teaches us, in one of the ta'amim, one of the lessons from it, is that Hashem views Am Yisrael in a favored light when they are like children, yearning for Torah, yearning for knowledge. Now, the force of habit dulls the sense of excitement that one should have upon seeing any form of life, but one feels excited when presented with rare and unusual species, such as the elephant, the monkey, a mouse that is half earth, like the Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin, page 91, or the Adnei Sadeh. Now, this is a very interesting thing that the Chazon Ish mentions here. He says that regular animals, cow, a donkey, horse, if you saw it once or twice, 3 times, that's it. You don't really get so excited. What do you get excited about? You see an elephant, which really doesn't exist in Israel anymore. You see a monkey. Or you see these 2 other animals. But before we get to the 2 other animals, you should know that when it comes to a monkey and an elephant, if you see them, you have to make a bracha. You have to make a special bracha that thanking Hashem that He changes the briot, that He changes the creation, the creatures of the world. Does anybody here know why? A monkey and a elephant?
We came from monkeys.
We came from monkeys? No.
I'm kidding.
Oh, okay. I said we have to go back to shiur number 1 with you. No. Why? It's actually, you have something there, but I'll tell you, it's not what you're saying, but something close. In the Tower of Babel, the reason why Kadosh Baruch Hu did not punish the people of the Tower of Babel, which was only 350 or so years after the flood of Noach, is because even though they were enemies of Hashem, they were united. So Hashem had to ruin their unity in order to punish them. So He changed their languages. But part of the punishment was, aside from destroying their tower and changing their languages, is that He actually transformed some of them into monkeys and elephants. So it's not, the truth is, the Midrash and Me'am Loez and several other places, the Gemara as well, talks about it. It's not that we came from monkeys, but the opposite. Monkeys and elephants came from us. And every time you see Some say if you saw it one time, that's enough. You have to make a special blessing that Hashem changes the creation. Meaning, this monkey technically used to be a human. Not that there was a monkey that will eventually become a human. It was the opposite. It was a punishment from Hashem. Now, there is an animal that the Mishnah in Masechet Kilayim, in chapter 8, Mishnah number 5, it's called the Adnei Sadeh. It says if we saw this animal, I don't believe exists anymore, or at least not one that anyone has seen any time in recent history. This is a special animal that existed a couple thousand years ago, and it's called Adnei Sadeh. It's mentioned in the Torah. And it says this animal is very unusual. The Chazal across the board discuss this animal. It's mentioned in the Mishnah, but then the rest of the sages discuss it. The Tiferet Israel says this Adnei Sadeh is really an orangutan. It says because it's this animal, the way it's described as having human features and animal features. It says the orangutan has those features. But the Gemara in Yerushalmi, Masechet Kilayim, in Perek 8, Halakha number 4, says no, that actually the Adnei Sadeh is really a wild man that lives in a forest, but has animal features, similar to what people call Bigfoot. So Bigfoot may be real. According to the Gemara, it is. But the Rambam, in his Perush on the Mishnayot, also in Masechet Kilayim, actually explains that the Adnei Sadeh is a creature that constantly talks, but it's not legible language. But he talks just like a human being. And he says this specific animal is mentioned in many, many books. And one of the books is the book of the Bartanura. And the Bartanura, is one of the sages, explains that the Adnei Sadeh is an animal whose features are similar to that of humans, yet it's connected to the ground by an umbilical cord where it draws its nutrients. And the real name of this animal is Yadua. And this animal is vicious and devours any creature that comes close to it. And the Bartanura concludes by advising that the best way to hunt down this animal is to shoot an arrow directly at the umbilical cord, which is the life source of this animal, because once it's damaged, the Yadua will die immediately. So then, the question is, why would anybody want to hunt down this vicious animal? So Rashi says, in the explanation in Sefer Vayikra in Leviticus, chapter 19, verse 31, on the mitzvah of don't turn away from any medium, meaning don't do any type of idol worship or witchcraft and so on. And it says it's called Yidoni. And Yidoni is really referring to this Yadua, this animal, where a person would gain supernatural abilities to see the future if he took the bone of this Yadua and put it in his mouth. You'd be able to see the future. This is, in some cultures in the world, like in Africa, this type of witchcraft is still used to this day. I don't know if they necessarily have this animal, but nonetheless you see many pictures and many movies and things of that nature that they still have these type of nature where they put animals and the like connected in their mouth and their body parts and so on, especially when they perform witchcraft. And some say, Rashi says, that you actually put this in the mouth of a dead person, the Ravad. The Ravad actually says that you put it in the mouth of a dead person and you're able to conduct a conversation with them. That person will talk to you. Meaning that this Yadua, this Adnei Sadeh animal, was a very, very sought after prize. Very interesting This is in a write-up in a website called Mishnah Yomit. Talks about this specific Mishnah. MishnahYomit.com. But the point is that the Chazon Ish mentions this Adnei HaSadeh. If you see this Adnei HaSadeh, you're like, wow, that's cool. Run! No, it's cool. Before you run, you say it's cool. Why? It's different. See an elephant? Wow, that's amazing. It's huge. 5-ton creature is scared of a little guy that's 100 pounds barely with a little leash. Amazing. Amazing. But the truth is, it's supposed to be amazed by the elephant, the Adnei HaSadeh, and the bird. And the chicken, the same amount. Why are we less amazed? Because we get used to it. This is why there's a mitzvah that in the Beit HaMikdash, if you entered from one of the entrances, let's say the entrance of the north, you are forbidden from exiting from that entrance. Why? The Yavitz says, if you entered from the north, you must go and exit from the south. Even though it's adding another 20 minutes or even 2 hours to your trip, you cannot exit from the same entrance. Because chas v'shalom, you would see the walls of the Beit HaMikdash twice in one day and get used to it like the walls of your house. Meaning that it's within our nature to get used to things even after we saw them one time. Even if it's the house of God. Needless to say, a bird, a human being, and so on. But yet when we see something unusual, we're enamored by it. And Chazon Ish completes this particular section by saying it's also human nature to be astonished at the sight of strange beings, handicapped people, very small people, very tall people. But the source of such astonishment lies in the non-logical part of human thought and is not part of the intellect. If all of your astonishments are spent on being enamored by how people are unusual looking, part of his skin is black, part of his skin is white, he has 2 different color eyes, his hair has a white streak, he's really tall, he's really short, he's missing an arm, that's what astonishes you. You, my friend, are not using your intellect. This is not a sign of wisdom. In fact, it's a sign of the opposite. It's a sign of the opposite. One time, a Jew tells me that he just had a surgery. And you know, surgeries are not fun. Especially when the painkillers or whatever was making the pain numb subsides. Many times, that waking up of your skin, of your flesh, is more painful than the surgery itself. So he just had a surgery, and the skin started waking up, the body started waking up, and he was in an enormous amount of pain. Now, when you're in enormous pain, it's hard to think. But he saw that there was somebody next to the pharmacy that was missing 2 legs. Missing, like, it looks like some, he had it amputated. And he was sitting there in a wheelchair. And despite him being in pain, he stopped, went to the guy and he said, "Can I help you with anything?" And the guy was enamored. "Can you get me water?" Like, no one else paid attention to him. He's sitting there all day. "Yeah, can I get water?" "Sure." And he goes and gets some water. The guy that had his legs amputated could have gotten himself. I mean, he had a wheelchair. And no one is paying attention to him. Who paid attention to him? Someone else that's in pain. Why is he paying attention to him? Because through his pain, he realized, wow, my pain is temporary. Eventually the surgery will heal. Eventually the pain will subside. Eventually the painkillers will kick in. But he's missing parts of his body, they're not growing back. Through his pain, he learned how to help somebody else that's in bigger pain. Now, when we only look at other people's other people's deformities, as a way to amuse ourselves, we are less than animals. Less than animals, because even animals don't do that. You're never going to see a bunch of animals making fun of another animal that's missing a leg. In fact, many times in nature you're going to see the opposite. But when we use the wisdom that HaKadosh Baruch Hu implanted in us, we'll be able to not only be enamored by all of creation, but also be able to use this brain of ours, this neshama of ours, to start bringing kindness to each other in ways that are simply not normal to a person that does not have wisdom already instilled in them. Now, this type of kindness is not something you just come up with out of the top of your head. It's either in you as a result of acquiring wisdom over an extended period of time, and eventually Hashem gives you the chance to use it, or it's not. Many times, people have the huge admiration, Baruch Hashem, of the Gdolei Ador. But based on what? Based on their scholarship, based on the amount of books that they wrote, based on the amount of lectures they've given, based on the amount of significance in the Torah that they have. But very few of them actually learn the private lives of these Gdolim. Rav Tzion Abba Shaul, alav shalom, one time was spotted in a fashion that most of us would be embarrassed in. How? There was one guy that every week would bring vegetables to Rav Tzion Abba Shaul's house. He would order the vegetables from the market, and the guy would bring it to his house on Friday for Shabbat. And one time he was about to go deliver the vegetables, and a young newlywed Avrech came to the guy. He says, "Listen, you're close to Rav Tzion Abba Shaul. Can you tell him? Can you help me talk to him? What happened? I'm having some shlom bayit problems with my new wife. I don't know. She's complaining. This, that. Can't take it. I don't know what to do. So maybe I go to the Kvod Rav. You say a good word for me or something." He says, "I'm going to him right now. Come, pick up a box. Go with me." So they come. They get to the house. Knock on the door. Rav Tzion Abba Shaul opens the door, and they see him with his pants rolled up to his knees, and he's mopping the floor. And the Rabbanit is sitting there, happy as can be. He's mopping the floor. The Gdol Ador, the biggest rabbi in the world, he's mopping the floor, cleaning the floor for Shabbat. The Rabbanit is sitting over there. So the guy that sells the vegetable salesman, he said, "No, for the Rab, I'll clean." He goes, No. You don't know how to clean like me. You don't know how to clean like me. I clean. He says, "Okay, Kvod Rav, listen. This is Avrech that came. He's having shlom bayit problems. I want you to talk to the Rav. Maybe talk to him. He's newlywed." He goes, "Sure. Where is he?" He goes, "Right here." "Oh, where'd he go?" The guy ran away. He left the box and ran away. I don't know. "Okay, Rabbi, I'm sorry. Okay, Shabbat Shalom. So the guy's like, "What happened to this guy? Came with me all the way here and he's not here." So he started driving away, and he sees the guy's walking away. He goes, "Hey, what happened to you? You said you want to talk to the Rav. I brought you to the Rav." He goes, No. After I saw that the Rav is doing sponja, is cleaning and mopping the floor, and the Rabbanit is happy, I'm going to go home and kiss my wife's feet to say thank you for everything that she does. Shtabach Shemo. The Gdol Ador, I'm complaining that my wife is not letting me study enough, and there's no quiet, and there's no this, and no that. The Gdol Ador is helping his wife clean for Shabbat. And I'm going to complain. What's shlom bayit problem? It's all my shlom bayit problems in my head. And that's what happens a lot of times. A lot of times, guys think that the women that they married is a cleaning lady, a cook, and maybe once in a while, somebody that they're going to procreate with. The Gemara says, what's an eshet chayil? An Eshet Chayil is a woman that raises your children with Torah and mitzvot and keeps you away from sin. That's an Eshet Chayil. Yeah, what about cleaning? What about cooking? That's extra. That's already super Eshet Chayil. If she makes sure that your kids go to yeshivot, if she keeps you away from sin, she's with you. That's Eshet Chayil. That's who you sing about every Friday. Cooking, cleaning, all that stuff is extra. Of course it's great if she does all that stuff. But if you think that all of that stuff is going to come, and if she hasn't cooked to your likings because you're comparing it to your mother, and if she hasn't cleaned to your liking because you're comparing it to some cleaning lady you had 20 years ago, and if it does, it's just all that stuff, that's all in your head. That's all in your distorted head of what you think a woman is supposed to be. You thought you married a cleaning lady, / chef, / somebody that you're going to be with. A baby oven. And unfortunately what ends up happening is a lot of guys ruin their marriages because of the distorted mindset of what their wife is supposed to be. Why? They have no dot. They have no chokhmah. They have nothing. They're worse than an animal. They don't know what an Eshet Chayil is. Sometimes people come to me with Shlom Bayit issues. I talk to the guy. I say, okay, so what's the problem? Because I just told you. What's the problem? I don't understand what the problem is. Sometimes it's the opposite. The woman comes to me, she says, oh, he works all the time. I don't understand. Okay, does he learn Torah? Yes. Does he give you money to spend, to buy stuff? Yes. So what's the problem? Well, I just told you, he works all the time and he's learning all the time. I said, so what's the problem? He works, he learns, he gives you money, he's with you when you want him to be. What's the problem? Why, that's the way it's supposed to be. That's actually better than what's supposed to be. Yeah. Well, what's the problem? People have a distorted mindset. They think that they're supposed to go to the movies and the mall together because they see movies and they see how their friends, post pictures on Facebook of their vacation, and they destroy their life that way. When a person acquires dat, when a person acquires good manners, the first thing he's going to learn is how to appreciate the people that are close to him, especially their spouse. But even more so, they're going to learn not to look elsewhere. Not to look at your friends' Facebook pictures, not to be interested in what other people are doing in their life, but more importantly, look for ways to help other people. Instead of look for ways to constantly get more stuff for yourself. The amount of learning that we can do from the sages is not just from their Torah, but also from their behavior, of how they understood life. Rav Yerucham Olshin. Yerucham Olshin is the Rosh Yeshiva in Lakewood. Has about 6,000 Talmidim right now. He, Baruch Hashem, is someone that's not only special in the Torah world, but anyone that had the merit to be in his life in any capacity will see what kind of special person he is. And the example will be this story. In Lakewood, when they have the akafot for on the high holidays, they go on till 1 o'clock in the morning. So one time, these two guys asked the Rav, can we have the meal, the festive meal at the Rav's house? And the Rav says, yeah, of course, the Rabbani will be happy. So they had the akafot, 1 o'clock in the morning. The guy is looking for his friend, he can't find him. And he sees the Rav, he goes, oh, for the Rav, I don't know where my friend is, but I don't want to miss out on the meal too. What should we do? So the Rav says, no, shouldn't miss out on the meal. Let's go to my house, let's go. Then the Rav whispers something to his grandson, and his grandson walks away ahead of them. Okay. They walk slowly to the Rav's house, And eventually get to the house, and you see there's people there, and the Rabbanit is there, and the grandson's there, and they sit down, and they have a meal, all the way till 3 o'clock in the morning. 3 o'clock in the morning, the Avrech goes back to his room, and who does he see? He sees his roommate. He's sleeping. Skak! Wakes him up. No, come on, you missed out. Where were you? He goes, where was I? Where were you? He goes, I was at the Rav's house. He goes, what do you mean you were at the Rav's house? I was at the Rav's house. He goes, what are you talking about? I didn't see you. When did you go? He said, 8 o'clock. I went to his house. We had the big festive meal. By 10 o'clock we finished. We went to the Beit Knesset. We did the Hakafot. Until 1 o'clock I went home. What did the Avrech find out here? He just realized, the meal was at 8 o'clock. It wasn't that his friend went missing. He went missing. And what ended up happening is when he told Rav Yercham, hey, Kvod Rav, I can't find my friend, so what should we do about food? The Rav realized, wow, he didn't eat. So he told his grandson, go tell the Rabbanit, we have company. We have to make a whole new Saudah. And so he doesn't get upset and get embarrassed, bring everybody else back to the house to make it seem like it's the first one. So he doesn't get upset and he doesn't get embarrassed. He doesn't think he's the only one eating. We're going to have to do a whole Kiddush again, a whole festive meal again, a whole Dvar Torah again, a whole songs again, till 3 o'clock in the morning. Why? He didn't eat. You don't become a Gdol Ador just because you end up having a yeshiva that has many students. You don't become Gdol Ador because you know how to write books. You become a Gadol because your whole life you're simply thinking about how can I bring more to Am Yisrael? How could I bring more to society at large? How could I emulate a Borei Barach? How could I emulate Hashem who only gives but doesn't receive? How could I justify that I am better than an animal that only looks out for itself? How could I justify to be one of the chosen people? All day, every day. How could I take this Torah that I learned and apply it to my life? How? Yeah, but you just learned about a donkey. What does a donkey have to do with anybody living in New York? What does an ox have anything to do with someone living in Florida? You see any oxen here? You see any donkeys here, Rabbi? No, except you. Because you didn't learn from the donkey, you become a donkey. If the donkey was in some Harry Potter book, then surely there's nothing to learn. But if the donkey is in the Torah and you didn't learn from it, that means you're still a donkey. You have to understand, if it's in the Torah, there is an endless amount of shurim to learn from it. You can learn one pasuk, any pasuk, inside the Torah from the beginning of your life until the end of your life, and every single Gilgul from the time of Egypt all the way to the end of the world. One pasuk. And if you don't realize it, then that means you still haven't realized you haven't graduated donkey yet. It's time. We're not all going to graduate and become Rabbi Akiva overnight. But what can we do now? Understand that there's an endless amount of Torah to learn. Understand there's an endless amount of Torah that we've already learned that we can apply. And understand that without applying everything we're learning on a regular basis, we're simply never going to become better people. To just put a hat on, a kippah on, a kisui rosh on, a long dress, that doesn't make you anything better than an animal. Some circuses put hats on the animals too. Some goats have beards also. Some animals, they put them in circuses, they put all types of things on them, better, nicer clothes than you. What's going to make you better? Using this holy Torah and applying it to your life and making yourself something that's literally admirable. Admirable by the rest of creation. You do things that are superhuman. What's superhuman? Beyond the rest of mankind. Not that you read more books than them only. Yes, that's also good. Not that you studied longer hours. Yes, that's also good. But rather that you've applied this knowledge to your life and you simply started worrying about how can I bring good to other people. And not just worry about your own tuchus all day. Oh, Rabbi, I'm depressed. Why? I don't know, I'm just alone. Okay, what about other people that are alone? Do you think about them? Do you pray for them? That they're alone, or you only pray for yourself? You only pray for yourself, okay, you're no different than nothing special about you. Why should HaKadosh Baruch Hu listen to your prayer and not somebody else's? That's why the Gemara says, someone that wants HaKadosh Baruch Hu to answer their prayers, pray for other people. You want refuah shlema? Pray for somebody else to have refuah shlema. You want to have a zivug? Help somebody else have a zivug. You want your family to do tshuva? Help strangers do tshuva. The more you emulate the Creator by doing stuff for others, the more the Creator wants to do stuff for you. Why? You're now special. You're just like me, he says. When you're just like me, I'll do stuff for you. But when you're only worrying about yourself, and it's all about me, you're not very different than an animal. It's important for us to know that the tzaddikim did not become tzaddikim just because of books, or just because of clothing, or just because a few people came to their shiurim. The tzaddikim literally did everything possible for the sake of Klal Yisrael. We'll finalize with one story, because of it's his yahrzeit, in his merit, and Be'ezrat Hashem, Zchuto Tagen Aleinu, Rav Tzion Abba Shaul did things in his life that many people don't know. The amount of mesirut nefesh and sacrifice he made for Klal Yisrael gives us a little bit of an understanding from the story of what does it mean to be a Gdol Hador. A lot of people say, oh, Rav Kanievsky said such and such. Okay, that's great. He's Gdol Hador. He said it. I'm sure it's emet. But do you realize what it took to be Rav Kanievsky? Do you realize what it took to be a Rav Ovadia? That because he said it, we believe it? It's not because of just the books. It's not because of he's old. There's many old people. And there's many people that wrote books. What made these Gdolim so special? That when they pray for someone, Hashem makes it happen. The tzaddik gozer, v'akadosh baruch hu mekayem. The tzaddik decrees, and Hashem fulfills it. Why? Why does when He gives you a bracha, it comes true, but you can pray for yourself for 500 years, nothing happens? How come? What makes Him so special? Rav Tzion Abba Shaul, when he got older and much weaker, someone came to him crying to the Rav, please Rav, pray for me. I'm sick. I need the Rav to pray for me. You helped me in the past, but it's back. And the Rav says to him, I'm sorry, I can't do what I did years ago. I can't do it. And the guy starts crying. And the Rabbanit Adasa, the wife of Rav Tzion Abba Shaul, sees this. And she says to the Rav, she says to the husband, why are you going to let him walk away crying? Why can't you give him a blessing? And he says to Rabbanit, what do you think, I just make blessings? I have to take on his tikkun. When I give you a blessing, refuah shlema, what does that mean? I know that there's a decree in Shemaim of sickness. If I say Hashem, don't make him sick, what does that mean? Don't make him sick? No, if there's a decree of sickness, bring it on me. I don't have the strength like I used to 20, 30 years ago. Rabbanit, are you going to take some with me? She says, yes. She says, if you're going to take some with me, then you're going to be okay. The Rabbani was a big tzaddikah. And the Rab was a big tzaddik. But in order for them to become tzaddikim, it wasn't just about books and about the pictures you see. It's about being willing to literally die for Klal Yisrael. You came for a blessing. He didn't just say, oh, Be'ezrat Hashem, everything's going to be okay. If he is a real tzaddik, he's in essence saying to Hashem, Hashem, I understand there's a decree in Shemayim. Please cancel it. But if it just has to come to the world, the bullet has already been shot. It's in the air, it's got to go somewhere. Give it to me. Give it to me. An animal doesn't do such a thing. If we want to be better than an animal, I'm not expecting anyone to say, oh, Hashem, give me the sickness instead of someone else. But at the very least, what we can do is start praying for Klal Yisrael. Start caring for Klal Yisrael. Start caring about other people doing tshuva. Start caring about other people getting closer to Hashem. Start caring about other people's well-being. Does he have chalot for Shabbat? Does he have a place to stay? Does he have somebody to say goodnight to, or is he alone every day for 30, 40 years already? Can I help him find a shidduch? Can I help her find a shidduch? Yeah, but I'm busy. Yeah, everybody's busy. Everybody's busy, but can you help anyway? Everyone's busy, but can you help anyway? Yeah, but I got bills also. Yeah, everybody's got bills, but you have an extra $5? We're not saying to pay his mortgage, but you have $5, you have $10, you have $1,000. Do you have anything you can help with? Because clearly, he is in your life for the same reason the bird's in your life. You saw it for a reason. Surely, and needless to say, if he or she came into your life, there's a reason for it. Invite him to a shiur to get closer to Hashem. Send him the lecture on Facebook. Send him the lecture on email. Care about other people. That's in essence what distinguishes us from the animals. If we only care about our own tuches, the animals are better than us. But if we start caring about others, then we justify why HaKadosh Baruch Hu calls us the chosen people. Be'ezrat Hashem, this gives us a little bit more inspiration to get closer and closer to Klal Yisrael as well as to HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. By emulating him, by doing all the things that he wants from us, and by Be'ezrat Hashem helping others do the same. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen ve'amen.